Former viral artist David was just arrested in one of the most horrifying cases the music industry has ever seen. But what makes this story even crazier is that prosecutors claim Celeste Rivas Hernandez was tragically murdered nearly an entire year ago. 358 days to be exact.
Celeste, a 14-year-old at that time, went to Mr. Burke's house. She was never heard from again.
Well, we're about to reveal why his arrest took so long, as well as break down all of the wild new evidence. The reality of the situation is, what David did next in those 358 days is just as disturbing.
I apologize in advance for the way my bathroom smelled. I took a like 2 hours ago.
I don't care, I just took it.
Another one? Tight That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about.
Yep.
Little did David's friends here know that what they actually smelled was the remains of a fresh crime scene in his garage, literally only a few feet below them, where David had allegedly murdered and dismembered a young victim using 2 chainsaws. And RIP Celeste, by the way. But if you're wondering how no one else noticed such an unmistakable smell,
Entertainment shop.
I got y'all. What's good, y'all?
They're in the bathroom.
There's 12 right there.
Yeah, but like, Mom, no, we're not. All of us in here just hearing.
Pissing stream.
No, go.
as the preliminary brief now states, after putting his chainsaw to hunting use and then leaving his victim's body to decompose in the trunk of his Tesla, for months David had lied to friends, business associates, and others about the strong smell of decay. The more details that come out, the darker the story gets.
If you have a functioning frontal lobe will lead you to one conclusion. David is pure evil, and every new piece of information from the prosecution here is beyond disturbing.
However, despite David now facing the death penalty, which, if you ask his own brother, he seems to support this fate for him, with a preferred method that we also may already know.
Their surgery will probably give me mental problems. I already got them. Give me more. I'm trying to get electric for him. I think that's the best way to go out, electric chair.
While you would think that you would want to lay low out of the public eye after committing something so tragic, what's even creepier is David did the exact opposite. And whether it was live streaming, or literally going out to celebrate at his album release party not even 24 hours after the incident, and doing a full press run the same week.
Because that's a real conversation that happened. And the irony of it was that person that was saying, I love you, she's not in my life anymore.
This podcast was released only 3 days after the night when prosecutors believe Celeste was ended. But this was only the beginning. In the 358-day span between the alleged murder and his arrest, David would go on to drop multiple eerie hints right in front of our face. Thanks to his long overdue arrest, though, we now have a full timeline of how this nightmare unfolded. According to LAPD's investigation, David and Celeste Rivas Hernandez first met back in January of 2022, and despite her young age, it wasn't long until they became more than friends. However, when we consider the clear age gap to David, who was 18, plus texts like all we do is have sex and hang out, man I want more for myself, sent by Celeste, and not to mention this clip, possibly the most damning evidence so far.
Is your media
I personally don't.
I media trained you.
No, you didn't.
That's controversial.
It's controversial of raping kids.
Really good.
Okay,
It's been a good one. Bye.
Bye, guys.
Mwah, 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 mwah. Oh my! Delete everything. Delete everything. Everything goes.
Back in January of 2024, David made the insane decision to do a live stream with Celeste and answer some questions with fans. Quickly ending though after Celeste's unexpected comments and ordering his moderators to delete all evidence the stream ever existed. In addition to the stream that came back to haunt him, it was clear that the two had indeed spent a lot of time together, with Celeste even traveling for multiple shows, including when David performed as an opener for SZA's SOS World Tour, as well as this show when a girl who appears to be Celeste was spotted backstage. At first, nobody really seemed to question who this mysterious girl was that was always hanging around David, or the dark reality of the relationship behind the curtain. However, as the year of 2025 rolled around, sadly, Celeste disappeared forever. In February of 2025, David took to Instagram to share this strange announcement to his nearly 2 million followers. Limited edition custom bloody shirts made by me available on my website now, showing us that the shirts were really handmade. To make matters worse, David also wore this same shirt during his concert here, when he performed his unreleased song that features these lyrics.
I don't care about the law when I'm with you, 'cause I be breaking it all the time. And I don't really mean to cause no issue, but I need you to know,
Some fans online speculate that David was so much of a monster that these stains were actually those of his victim. Yet, at least according to prosecutors, Celeste would have still been alive at this time. But I'm afraid not for much longer. However, before the tragic turns the month was about to bring, April of last year instead started with this.
ain't never fell before. I never fell before.
You fell?
Yeah, nah. Bro, I went for the backflip off the riser and my foot slipped. I was like, well, there it is.
Telling up millions of views for his failed backflip on stage at Coachella, to which David joked about being a humiliation ritual. Not even 2 weeks after this tweet, though, was when everything changed. And as a result, David will never perform at Coachella ever again. On the night, right before investigators say she took her last breath, David and 14-year-old Celeste Rivas Hernandez reportedly had a lengthy argument over texts. As court papers read, the messages on April 22, 2025 revealed the victim's jealousy over defendant's relationship with other women, as he had led her to believe they had a future together. Celeste allegedly became upset, and therefore threatened to disclose damaging information about their relationship, to quote, end David's career and destroy his life. They also point out how David's debut studio album was scheduled to release 2 days later on the 25th, but not before this happened. At approximately 8:40 p.m. on April 23, 2025, prosecutors alleged that David had ordered an Uber ride for Celeste to come over to his place. However, when she arrived at 10:10 p.m. at his rented house in the Hollywood Hills, knowing he had to silence the victim before she ruined his music career, very soon after her arrival, David allegedly stabbed Celeste multiple times in his garage, and stood by while she ended, making zero effort to save her life. Believe it or not, the victim's remains were not found until over 4 months later. So, what did David do in the meantime? New details claim he got right to work trying to cover up his tracks, only to fail miserably in the end. At approximately 10:30 p.m., David had sent text messages to Celeste's phone inquiring where she was, but they say this was simply part of David's cover-up plan, as she was already gone by this point. An hour later, at 11:30 p.m., David tried to text and call her again. Before then, as both cell phone and Tesla GPS data confirm, David's next move was to drive to an isolated area off of State Road 154 and attempt to dispose evidence.
State Road 154, Santa Barbara. License plate reader, both directions. You're done, son.
However, clearly he didn't do a good job of disposing the evidence, seeing as a road worker actually found Celeste's passport at the same exact spot a few months later. Yet, despite discarding her passport, plus who knows what else, David still had the victim's body in his garage. And to prove this timeline even more, prosecutors revealed that April 23rd was also the day when all of Celeste's cell phone activity totally ceased. But on the other hand, for David, you could have never guessed, as he was as active as ever on social media, preparing to release his first major album. Literally only 1 day after ending Celeste's life with a sharp instrument, David announced that tickets for his new world tour were officially up for sale. Album today, finally, what the f***, David tweeted at 5 p.m., approximately 19 hours later. However, along with going live on his Twitch channel this same day.
Oopsie daisies, twin. Oopsie daisies, twin. Oopsie daisies, twin. Who got the bundle, though? Who pre-saved the album, though? The album come out in 4 hours. Who pre-saved that? Who did that? Who did these?
Bro, I just want to say big shout out to Fortnite, bro, for giving me the locker bundle. I've been waiting for this for so long, bro. Whoa. You guys don't understand.
And then even hosting his own packed-out in-person album release party. First, though, as new details tell us, he had some other business to tend to. Once more, showing us how stupid he is. Tellingly, David then purchased tools to carry out his plot to dismember and dispose of the victim's body on April 24th, 2025. To be more precise, David reportedly ordered a shovel from Home Depot, which was then delivered to his house by Postmates.
How on earth could he have thought he was going to get away with this? It says, on April the 24th, 2025, defendant ordered a shovel from Home Depot that was delivered to his home from Postmates.
After receiving a shovel from Home Depot, there was still a lot of evidence, though, that David was going to need much heavier tools for. But, again, not even 24 hours after the execution, on the evening of April 24th, David then pulled up to his album release party.
The next day, they have a album release party and Wither Tour pre-sale, and then ticket sales start. His management's in town. His management who leased the house is in town. Don't know where they're staying, and his friends are all around. I put up pictures yesterday of them on the 24th at this party. This would be just hours after.
Celebrating like he hadn't just lived through a real-life horror movie. When the following day rolled around and David's debut album released to the world on April 25th, he still looked happier than ever. This kid's album is finally out, I can't believe it. My album out now. Thank you all. Love you, he typed on the 25th, taking this selfie with the biggest smile across his face, led by the single titled One More Dance, which, besides its creepy music video here,
after watching you go,
showing David literally dragging a body and then stuffing it in the trunk of his car. And when asked to describe the song, it's about having one more dance with somebody before they leave you forever, he answered. David's new album Wither debuted at number 13 on Billboard and received generally positive reviews. Also included at track 8 is the Invisible String interlude. And not only do many believe that this is actually Celeste's voice talking, with a slight pitch change added for obvious reasons, but then during one of his last podcasts, David actually said this.
Can we talk about, like, the interludes? It seems to be your love interest, right?
Mm-hmm.
What is that adding to the story?
It's a whole different layer of depth, things that add to the story. I'm talking about the invisible string theory, which is a common theme and one of the motifs for the project. And with the interlude, it's kind of explaining from my perspective. And the irony of it was that person that was saying, I love you, she's not in my life anymore. So it's like people say that the string can't be cut and the connection cannot be severed, but I feel like it can sometimes. And that's why I wanted to put, Afterlife and all these songs that feel like endings and conclusions and goodbyes on the project.
Well, it's not exactly clear to us when his interview here on the Zach Sang Show was recorded in the studio. It turns out this wasn't David's only time talking about that same mysterious voice.
There's another voice at the end.
So there's an extra layer that I added throughout the album where you hear like little voice bites. Cannot disclose who the voice is. Just, sound bites and things to add an extra layer of authenticity and storytelling to the project. And there's an interlude as well.
I got a question.
What's the question?
Why don't you hold my hands anymore?
Let me talk. No, you ain't gonna let me talk about you tripping.
If you ask me, that definitely sounds like Celeste's voice after you adjust the pitch. Yet, as for David though, and what he did next in the hours following the incident, on April 25th, again the day of his album's release, David had hopped on a flight from LA to New York City, where he then held a collab event with BandLab, like we can see here, to celebrate with fans face to face. Although spotted hitting backflips and smiling throughout this event, when it came time for him to perform, specifically his new track titled Afterlife, David broke down in tears.
It's my favorite part. Come on. But I buy all I can as I try.
Whether this was genuine is up for you to decide, but David didn't stop there. On April 27th, David caught another flight, this time to Houston, where he would then hold a hometown concert at the sold-out White Oak Music Hall.
I thought a girl would make me happy. Something else is making me cry when you cross the line. I love you.
With his own family in attendance, as seen by pictures like this one with fans, David's family watched, as in addition to performing Afterlife, he would go on to close out his show by playing his most popular hit, which, besides the name itself, Romantic Homicide also includes these bone-chilling lyrics.
In the back of my mind, I killed you, and I didn't even regret it. I can't believe I said it, but it's true.
In the back of my mind, but then you think that I'm gonna say you died, but I say I killed you. So it's not like the thought of her is gone by itself was something that she did, it was something that I decided to do. And I in the back of my mind. It's really more of a figurative I killed you, especially in the back of my mind. I try to stress that in the back of my mind.
Trying to stress that these lyrics were just figurative, the music video for David's breakout hit is also extremely creepy in retrospect, depicting a bloody girl in bed as he stands over her, combined with the fact that this video was released on September 7th, which is Celeste's birthday. As unbelievable as it sounds, remember that all this time while David was out traveling the world and playing packed out shows, the secret truth was, David still had a decomposing human body in his garage.
Someone's saying, I'm curious about this time period too. Over the course of nearly 2 weeks, a body would be bloated, leaking fluids, and actively decaying without being frozen. Despite possibly having a freezer in the garage, the reports of an odor make it seem like that isn't the case. She was certainly within the house. The amount of time that he had her remains in his possession throughout the entire process is disturbing. The smell would have been absolutely horrific. It's evil and grotesque.
As of this video, we don't exactly know where David stored the young victim's body during these first few days, but what we do know is that upon his return to the scene of the crime, aka this house he was renting in the hills, David went right back to work trying to scrub more evidence, with the smell having to be horrid by this point, following this cryptic tweet of the simple word decay on April 30th. Just 1 day later, on May 1st, David ordered 2 chainsaws off of Amazon and had them delivered to his home.
What the hell? It says on May 1st, 2025, defendant ordered and subsequently Amazon delivered 2 chainsaws to his home. On May... No way.
We would even be presented with this picture of one of David's chainsaws later in the investigation. However, before actually putting these tools to absurd use, on the same exact day as his Amazon order, David's Roblox concert series kicked off.
In the back of my mind,
quote-unquote performing these virtual concerts inside of this video game centered for kids. As we can see, David's hand-painted t-shirt made it into the Roblox shop too, if any kids wanted to purchase. However, after May 1st though, David's public appearances came to a brief halt, appearing to be finalizing what he thought was his master plan, that instead soon proved to be the dumbest. 4 days later on May 5th, David reportedly hopped back on Amazon to this time order a body bag, heavy-duty laundry bags, and a small blue inflatable pool all delivered to his home. Even David realized though how suspicious of an order this was to place on Amazon. Thus, he instead tried to use a fake name, Victoria Mendez, at checkout, only to have all the boxes still delivered to his address of the crime. The complaint continues that once his Amazon order was in hand, David then took horrifying measures to destroy and discard the victim's body.
After placing her body into the blue inflatable pool to prevent her blood from spilling onto his garage, defendant used a chainsaw and perhaps other tools. Small blue plastic fragments were found embedded in the victim's remains, which were collected by the Los Angeles County Medical Examiner's Department. An expert was able to match a physical fit match from the blue fragments to the blue inflatable pool purchased by defendant in May 2025.
In order to distance himself from the victim, David is then accused of amputating Celeste's left ring and pinky fingers because her ring finger contained a tattoo of his name, like we can confirm here. As for Celeste's pinky finger though, considering the absolute creep that he is, your guess is as good as mine. Some say that David kept Celeste's fingers as some sort of trophy, but to this day, her fingers have not been found.
Here's where it gets sickening. Her pinky finger was removed, and also her ring finger was removed. Now, this is kind of crazy because she had a tattoo that said David on that ring finger.
Celeste's full medical autopsy would later confirm that she was indeed missing 2 fingers on her left hand, and along with evidence of traumatic injury and multiple penetrations to her torso, the victim was also found with no left eyeball. Not too sure the reason on that one either. However, after putting his chainsaw to use, court papers continue that David then placed his victim's head and torso into the body bag and limbs in a garbage bag. From there, he then made the wild decision to store these bags in the front trunk of his Tesla, where they were left to decompose in this tight little space for over 4 months. Aside from one last nightmare Amazon purchase he still had to make, on the same night when prosecutors believe the dismemberment happened, also arrived this post on David's story at 11 o'clock p.m., asking his followers which Hello Kitty skateboard he should buy. Now, make sure to keep David's love for Hello Kitty in mind too for just a sec, because this post and so many others were about to take on a whole new meaning. But first, in addition to Instagram, David would share this TikTok video on May 5th, 2025 with the caption, "Afterlife Live is gonna hit different on tour. This sounds like a funeral song," one fan replied. That was, not knowing the truth the comment held. From the outside looking in, the next 4 months of David's life looked completely normal. Well, at least normal for a rising musician, such as the very next day on May 6th when David then held another meet and greet with fans in LA, like this one, and giving him a massive hug. 2 days later, David would reportedly make another trip and return back to that isolated area off State Road 154 to get rid of more evidence or possibly check on what he already disposed. However, by the end of the month, David was out of the country, taking his shows international with performances in South Korea, meeting some of his idols in the process, as well as an unplanned encounter with popular Kick streamer Neon.
Oh my god! What the? Wait. Yo, how did y'all find this and what? I didn't even know!
Shock that really shook the hands of an alleged murderer. Again though, you could have never guessed what David was hiding at the time, because in addition to continuing to post on social media, including more notable TikToks with Hello Kitty imagery, David put out a new collab single in June, before in July linking up with another streamer, Jason the Ween, for not only some content together, but even a new single and music video together.
Do a backflip.
Right now.
Hey, good boy.
What?
Hey, W. David in the chat. Appreciate you for coming, bro. We gonna end it off with a backflip. Let's go. 3, 2, 1.
That looks like it hurt more than the last one.
As it stands today, Jason has since deleted all his content with David and has reportedly stressed that their friendship is no more. That is, due to the mind-blowing discovery that was about to be made. And yet another attempt by David, though, to prevent that discovery. And what Jason the Ween didn't know was that 2 days before their song released, David had gone back on Amazon again under his fake alias, this time ordering a burn cage to incinerate evidence.
This particular model can apparently get up to a whopping 1,600 degrees Fahrenheit, which is about 200 degrees hotter than the temperature required to burn human bones. And this is the photograph Steve took of that burn device. These types of incinerators are illegal in LA County, and that even if it were a prop, say used for a music video, still doesn't seem to be much of a reason for it to be delivered to his home.
However, whatever he allegedly tried to burn, the truth was that David still had Celeste's body and limbs stored in about the worst place possible, the trunk of a car in the LA summer heat. To make his decision even dumber, when the time then came to hit the road for his With Her World Tour, rather than another step in his plan, at the end of July, David simply just left his car parked with decaying remains, only 400 feet from his home. With surveillance footage to prove, David was the last person who drove his black Tesla. With all this leading to some speculating that David wanted to get caught, and rather went on his last tour as a going-out party. Regardless, his highly anticipated 2025 tour kicked off with a sold-out concert in Cali. And David's outfit of choice was very telling. First show of tour, baby, we went Hello Kitty on him, he typed after the concert, with thousands of fans screaming in attendance. Now, although he seemed to like the imagery himself, it's important to note that Celeste was a big fan of Hello Kitty, and actually, as we can read from her missing person poster, she was last seen wearing Hello Kitty sandals. However, if David's Hello Kitty hoodie and beanie wasn't enough, if we zoom in right here on these words on the front of David's hoodie, Divine Celestial, they read. Once again, pretty clearly referencing Celeste, like the monster he is. Going on to take it a step further and even host funerals at his concerts, and roll in caskets, which, if you ask me, was weird to begin with. As for his music, though, the last song that David released before the gruesome discovery was actually his collaboration with Fortnite, titled Locked and Loaded. An ex-player and lover of the game himself, Locked and Loaded, released on September 3rd, had marked the first official Fortnite anthem, along with a partnership too between David and Crocs. I start media training tomorrow, guys, wish me luck, he posted to Instagram on the 5th. Before then, what will likely be his last tweet ever, 6-7. What a tweet to go out with. One day later on September 7th, which by the way would have been Celeste's 15th birthday, David chose this specific date to announce the release of his upcoming deluxe album. Thankfully, this project never came out, as instead, just one day later, the world was hit with this jaw-dropping news.
We have an update right now on a disturbing story out of California, where Los Angeles police have identified badly decomposed human remains found inside of an impounded Tesla last week. Investigators say the car is registered to singer and songwriter David.
On September 8th, 2025, when LA police officers were called to the Hollywood tow yard to investigate a foul odor emanating from a vehicle, so many questions were instantly raised, and upon taking a closer look, their worst fear came true. Stuffed inside the trunk of this impounded Tesla and covered in insects was a black body bag containing decomposed body parts, along with, remember too, a garbage bag in there with more limbs. This gruesome discovery wasn't in just any Tesla, but rather one registered to the viral music artist known as David, aka David Anthony Burke. Notably, David had never reported any stolen vehicles, and instead, after leaving his Tesla abandoned in the hills when he left for tour, at this exact location to be precise, it was moved to the tow yard 5 days before officers were called. Due to the remains found in quote, such severe decomposition, at first they couldn't be identified. But in the meantime for David, despite this headlining discovery taking the internet by shock, David still went on to headline his own concert that very same night. And like we can see by these clips, David showed no signs of what he was hiding.
I'm taking a pause if the police come out talking about we found a body in the back seat or in the trunk of a vehicle that's registered in your name. I'm stopping all musical endeavors in that exact moment, and I'm getting to the bottom of this, because first of all, my name being put out crazy. Number two, what the f I gotta do with this? Number three, who put a body in my trunk? But he's still touring like everything all good. I'm like, nigga, go home.
Like Chauncey agrees, if a body was found in the trunk of my car, the last thing I'd want to do is go out to perform to a sold-out crowd. Although he was said to be cooperating with authorities, we also need to point out David's interesting attire for this specific performance, opting to wear a jersey with the number 97, and as we covered earlier, 9/7 or September 7th was Celeste's birthday. Little did David know though that this concert right here in Portland a week later would not only be the last of his 2025 tour, but also the last concert of his life. Following a medical examination on September 16th, the body found in David's Tesla was sadly confirmed to be that of Celeste Rivas Hernandez, and along with her mother confirming to TMZ that Celeste had a boyfriend named David, as well as their matching tattoos, with "shh" written on both their fingers, combined with old Discord messages such as this one resurfacing where David asks about Celeste, it wasn't hard to see that he at least knew who this girl was. But the big question remained, how much was David actually involved in this wild story?
He didn't kill anybody, bro. He didn't kill anybody. There's no way. There's no way he's been on tour. He's been on tour. He literally performed yesterday.
Thanks to the fact that David was on tour and again has always polite and nice personality, at first many fans thought there was no way that this had to be some sort of setup. Yet, with more and more pictures coming to light, plus again that old stream they did together, David looked guiltier by the day. And with his age of dating preference now revealed to the world at this point, his career was cooked either way. He was either a PDF file, or David is a PDF file and a murderer. So which one was it? 2 days after Celeste's body had been identified, LAPD executed a search warrant at the Hollywood Hills house where David had been renting, seen leaving with stuff like computers, which we're about to learn contained about the worst content imaginable.
What authorities said they allegedly found on David's devices, and I will tell you right now, shocking.
However, aside from taking down his custom bloody shirts off his merch website on September 19th, at this point no arrests were made. In fact, David would roam free for another 7 months after Celeste's body had been identified in his car. Following the search warrant, David would then terminate his lease on the property where the incident occurred, which, by the way, is now back up for rent despite its association to the case, at $23,000 a month if anyone wants to live there. But after moving to a different rental in LA to hide out, if you ask the neighbors,
we assumed he'd fled far away.
After the singer's arrest, neighbors in the Hollywood Hills were surprised to learn David was living nearby.
We never saw anyone going in or out of his house. We actually assumed no one was living there.
All of our neighbors were kind of on a group chat, and we were like, this was kind of scary that we've been living around the corner from an accused murderer.
With prosecutors not wanting to leave a single inch of doubt, this left David plenty of time to sit and contemplate his actions. So what did he do exactly? Well, besides rumors that he was still active and playing Fortnite online, one user also believes that they found David's Letterboxd account, which would show us that he watched a ton of movies during this time, including the new Pizza movie, calling it the greatest movie of all time. That alone should be enough to lock him up. A lengthy review of Sydney Sweeney's Housemaid, and Ryan Gosling's latest film Project Hail Mary, which if this is actually David had to be illegally streamed online, because no way he was going to risk being seen at a theater now. However, there was no way that David was able to fully enjoy any of these movies, knowing that at literally any second of the day, law enforcement could buzz through his door and take his ass to jail forever. And, after what felt like an eternity, that day would finally arrive.
Folks, we waited 7 long months for this day, and David is finally in custody, and I am delighted to reveal to you folks, we got him!
A grand total of 358 days since the alleged incident and more than 7 months since Celeste's body was found in his Tesla. On April 16, 2026, David was arrested on suspicion of murder. And while again the internet wondered what took so long, taking the time to make sure their case had no cracks, met by a deep group of armed police officers though at his LA rental, the moment that everyone had been waiting for was finally here.
It's gonna obscure my view from the gate. If you try to run or if you try to resist, you won't get hit with my lethal and you're gonna hurt. I got you. If you try to run, we have canine on premises and you will get bit. I got you. All right, so you want to open the gate?
Today, I am announcing the charges against David Anthony Burke, the musician known as David. These charges include the most serious charges that a DA's office can bring. That is first-degree murder with special circumstances, a maximum sentence of life without the possibility of parole or the death penalty.
Between the finding of the body of Celeste's body, why has it taken so long for an arrest to be made?
I think the police chief got it right. You have to go through the very rigorous and thorough investigation. That is what we've been doing over the last, between September 8th, roughly, and today when we bring these charges on April 20th.
On April 20th, 2026, with Celeste's family in attendance for his hearing, David Burke was officially charged with first-degree murder of Celeste Rivas Hernandez. Again, as prosecutors state, David ended her young life to protect his music career. However, in addition to his parents who say they support and stand by their son 100%, despite the mountain of evidence, David has pleaded not guilty to all charges, with his lawyers claiming this.
Your Honor, we believe the actual evidence will show David Burke did not murder Celeste Rivas Hernandez, nor was he the cause of her death.
David's high-powered defense team certainly has a long road ahead of them, because, as the preliminary brief concludes, prosecutors plan to present even more evidence against David, including photos and videos of the two engaged in adult activity, text messages about pregnancy and such, receipts of David's obvious Amazon purchases that line up with all of the exact dates, proof that he paid for Celeste's Uber ride the night that she was last at home, and then, if you still weren't convinced, DNA evidence from bloodstains that were collected in David's garage are now revealed to be a precise match to that of Celeste.
Now, in some recent updates to this story, it does seem like the LA County DA is really looking to throw the book at David.
To put the final bow on just how much of a monster David is, though, and to slim his hope of avoiding the death penalty even more, according to prosecutors, David's cell phone and iCloud account were found full of, quote, a significant amount of.
They actually highlighted the fact that they had this significant amount of on his iPhone.
In light of the gruesome details emerging almost daily, Celeste's family has decided not to make any statements now or in the future. Their family's attorney said, "There are no words to express the indescribable pain the family is experiencing right now." Although the investigation is still ongoing, at only 21 years old, David is cooked either way. Currently sitting in an isolated jail cell at LA County Men's Central. However, while David lost his career, unfortunately, Celeste Rivas Hernandez tragically lost her life.